Hey, what's up, world? My name is Joe, and I'm here with Nicole.
Hi, guys.
We are Scalp Logic, and we want to talk a little bit about the aftercare of SMP and our opinions on it. So, mainly what I wanted to bring Nicole to talk about being an esthetician for how many years?
I've been an esthetician now. I've been in the whole cosmetology world working on skin for about 13, 14 years now.
Okay, 13 or 14 years.
So I've seen a lot.
Yeah, absolutely,
lot of
absolutely. I
experience.
feel like I'm an esthetician myself doing SMP, well, mainly just on guys' skin, I should say, not face and women and all that. But what we're trying to say is it's super important to understand the skin when it comes to the aftercare of the SMP. So we're really big on that. Aftercare is, as I said in my other videos, it's a pretty mild endeavor. It's minor. You don't need a lot to it, and what can make it a lot easier, the healing process, is taking care of it beforehand with some pre-care.
Yes.
Anyway, I'll let you take the mic. What do you think they need to know? So we're talking to potential clients out there, and also people who are maybe newer artists out there, just looking for a little more insight.
Trying to understand the whole industry
You got
as
it.
a
Yeah,
whole.
cool.
So really it starts off with the pre-care. I mean, you touched a little bit on that. It's making sure that your skin is ready, making sure that if it's a little bit dry, we kind of correct the dryness before you actually come in. Otherwise, when you're working on the skin and you have that dryness, that does take an effect on the actual treatment. So if we can eliminate all that before you even come in, your skin is going to be a lot more receptive to the treatment.
Yeah.
Therefore, the results are going to be a lot better.
Night and day difference.
Yes.
I know there's still some guys. I learned well over 10 years now. I learned from a person who just did one and done. You come in one session, like the tattoo world, you come in one session, you get it done, it's permanent results. I don't think that's a great idea, especially knowing what we know now.
Yes.
But it's men, first of all. It's people. People are people, but especially when guys shave their hair for the first time, they have no clue. But gosh, 8 times out of 10, they have some kind of dry skin, even if it's mild, sometimes some really flaky skin. But if you can imagine, knowing nothing about tattooing, injecting ink into flaky, dry skin, it's just not a good situation. So definitely managing the skin, getting rid of all the dead skin cells.
So we may do, we make all of our own stuff in-house. So a lot of the times we'll make an exfoliant for the actual client to make sure that they're going to go home, they're going to use it, they're going to let it sit on their scalp, and they're going to rub it in circular motions. And then by the time that they come in, again, all that dead skin has washed away. And let's say that even after, by assessing the skin, I'm able to tell them after the exfoliant, they might need a little bit of coconut oil, a little bit of something that we might make them as well.
Don't tell them all of our ingredients now. Yeah, some coconut oil is something that we see appropriate.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned in the previous videos about the aftercare, it's all on an individual basis.
Yes.
Right? If it's a young guy who has like super oily skin that works outside versus a retired man who has sunspots and brittle old skin, it's completely different pre-care, aftercare, and during.
Yes.
Cool.
So now on the aftercare, since we already started with the pre-care and we've already kind of dialed in the person's skin, we know more or less how it's going to react after the treatment. So we're already anticipating that, and we already have it all covered. Now I know Joe talked about a video about how other people do it, and it's 4 days no washing it and going through that whole thing.
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit. Right. So we definitely differ. I don't know, 80 or 90% of the SMP world. People that have been doing it as long as me, even longer, they do after today's your treatment, go home, don't touch it, right? Don't wash it, don't even put water on it?
Don't even put water on it. Some people even go up to 6 days, which to me, again, being an esthetician, and this is skin that we are working on, that's insane.
Yeah, I don't love it myself.
And again, I'm saying from a skin perspective as well.
Yeah, let's make that clear. I think we're talking from a hygiene perspective.
Yes.
We're not saying that the ink or the treatment's not going to settle appropriately if you let it sit. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying if you give it a little wash, you're not going to harm the treatment. That's
and
our
especially
philosophy.
what you're washing with. That's another thing. That's another thing that we really dial in to make sure that they're using shampoo that's not only organic, but something very mild that's not going to be stripping the scalp.
Right. And a good example of that is, a lot of people, again, in my first 2.5 years, we would gift everybody a travel size bottle of baby shampoo. Knowing what I know now, she's laughing at us because baby shampoo, and try it yourself if you don't believe us, it'll dry most people's skin out if you use it for a day or two on top of the head there. So not a good idea unless someone has really oily skin, and then, hey, go pick up some baby shampoo. Again, all individual basis, right?
Customized.
Dry skin should be expected. When you break up the skin, when you tattoo skin in general, and again, I reference, we're very, very shallow, very minor. But you're gonna have some peeling, some flaking, no matter what, every time. In SMP, a lot of times it's on a micro level.
Yep.
So guys don't even notice that they're flaking, they're drying. So what I'm trying to say is a guy that comes in, never had any history of dry skin, gets one session done, comes in a week or two later for a second session and has some dry skin. It's not a huge concern. It's not ideal.
No.
These are things that we want to prevent in the pre-care, aftercare, all that kind of stuff. But it's almost like shedding the skin. It's almost kind of needed. Correct me if I'm wrong.
100%. Any type of treatment that you would do to your face or any type of your body, they're going to be, everybody's going to obviously have a different, like you could say, response after. Their skin is going to have a different response.
That's a good word.
It is, because I mean, your skin it's again, a lot of the times it's up to the client's skin and their response.
And that comes
to
with the dry skin, the redness and irritation, how the ink retains. This is really important because you can be the best artist and know everything, but I can't manipulate somebody's immune system, all the variables involved. So another big one is the sun exposure. And again, I want to reference, don't get any sun beforehand. I only had a couple of guys do that, but
with the sunburn coming.
Yeah, come in, definitely don't get any sun. I mean, we live in LA area, right? We're in California, so we get sun like 360 days a year. So maybe not as big of a deal as anyone else out there, but talk to them. What do you think about the sun?
I mean, you definitely want to avoid the sun, and I know that a lot of people in their aftercare say you can completely wear a hat, and we suggest that as well, as long as it's a clean hat that they haven't worn before, and to try to keep the hat off as much as possible. Because again, you just got a treatment done, you want to let it breathe. Even if you were to have a treatment done to your face or another part of your body, I mean, specifically your face, you would want to let it breathe. You're not going to go and like be lathering all types of products on your face after you've had a treatment done. It's kind of the same thing with the hat. And that's something I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, let me just keep my hat on. If you can avoid it, better.
Right.
But
make sure it's clean. I always suggest get a brand new hat. Don't even worry about washing it. Just get a brand new hat, and then make sure, let's say if you set it on 7 buttons, set it on 8. Make it a little looser so it doesn't fit so tight. You don't want it too constricted.
And besides that, on the sun, it's really just trying to avoid it as much as possible. I mean, we all have lives to do, and getting the treatment done, it doesn't mean that you're going to completely stop your life because you've had this done.
Sure.
We understand that.
Sure.
But just, act accordingly when you're going into the sun, and just knowing that in your head, let me try to avoid it as much as possible. Another really big one I would say is their sheets, their bed sheets at night when they get into bed. And if they have sheets that they haven't washed in a while, you definitely want to keep your sheets.
Come on, guys. Once a week, every Saturday, every Sunday, wash your sheets, especially if you get your SMP done. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. That's something to consider.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so let's talk about the ointments. As much as we can help it at Scalp Logic, we try natural as possible. So unless I see any signs of dry skin or oily skin, I just give it a clean. I give them the shampoo that we give them, and that's it. That's it. Nothing else touches your skin. Call us or text us if you see the need, if you see fit to put anything on, but nothing touches the skin.
And again, the shampoo is specifically made for them. And let's say in 2 days they see that they are experiencing a bit of dryness. At that point, they would give us a call, and then we would recommend something.
That's right. And then, of course, there's different scales, different levels. If it's really mild, something as simple as like a coconut oil. If a little more advanced, maybe we'll get into something else. And then, if it's like extreme, typically most guys, they have a history. They have a doctor, a dermatologist we'll talk to. So dry skin, again, case by case, it's very minimal. It should be very minimal in most cases. Okay, so let's talk about the redness and the irritation. So a lot of guys come in, never had any kind of tattooing before, and they're like, what am I gonna do? How is it gonna hurt? And they're afraid of, they think in their heads, and I can tell over the phone, they think I'm gonna take like a jackhammer, and then they're just gonna be bleeding and gushing.
And they're gonna have to stay home for like a week.
Yeah. So again, it is a needle, and each provider uses different size needles, different pressures and all that kind of stuff. So I can really only speak for Scalp Logic, but we typically use some of the smallest needles, I think.
Smallest needles, micro level.
Yeah, so it doesn't hurt very much. And also as a result, what's nice is it's not gonna cause a whole lot of irritation. You can expect a slight redness and irritation for 1 to 3 days. Excuse me, 1 to 2 days typically, 3 days if it's maybe someone with a weaker immune system, maybe someone a little bit older. But the redness and irritation is very mild. Some guys, the redness is gone later that night when they get home.
Yes.
Now let's talk about, this is considering, this is an experienced artist. Briefly, because you get a lot of phone calls about this.
Yes.
What if you're really red for longer than a couple of days?
For a week.
What's going on? What are the reasons for that? So I think the obvious is inexperience of depth perception from the artist, and maybe they go too deep and pretty much just it's a very minor treatment. Someone doing it right. So if someone goes way too deep, the red flags are pretty obvious. I think, especially if you go on the internet and compare. So some bleeding and all that kind of redness. Irritation, bruising, I think that goes without saying.
We've never had a client that's gone longer than 2 days of having any type of redness. But again, it's having it done correctly more than anything.